Hello, in this tutorial we'll take a look at how to take this building and make a render of a physical model like this, and in the second part we'll look at how to render the same building in an environment like this using Blender. So let's get started with the first render. So this is the base file I provided. It has, as you can see here, a collection of assets: 2 trees, a car, and grass, and a rock, and we'll be using this tree for both models. It has the building model and the base, and also another base that will be used for the road. And there's also another folder next to the base file that has the needed textures. So let's get started. First, we begin by this first scene, which is the physical model. And this is a scene that already exists. We will create a new collection. F2, enable the screencast keys, press F2 and call it physical model, and we will start by duplicating this model here, which is the building, and I will create a duplicate of this collection, and I will drag it and drop it to the physical model. So now I have a copy of this. I will select all of the building, and also I need also the base. I put this building in the physical model, and then I need the topography 1, which is this one, and I will also do I'll do a duplicate of this collection, and I will move this collection again this new one to the physical model. So I'll select all of these objects, G, Shift Z, and I'll move them to the origin. And now I also need the tree, so I'll create a new collection here, and I call it scattered trees, and I will take this tree here. So this tree has a bark and leaves, so I'll copy it with Shift D for now, Shift D, Shift Z to stay the same plane, G, Shift Z, and then I will, so this is a new copy, and I will move it, press M to move it to the physical model, scattered trees. So I have it now here, and as you can see here, this tree is new and it's not instanced, there is no number here. So I'll press tab to edit mode, and then P, and then separate by material, and then I will tab back to the object mode, and here if I move the leaves, you will see the leaves and the barks are isolated. I will delete the leaves. From time to time, don't forget to save the file. Now I will need here in this physical model, I will create, the cursor is there, so I will Shift A, plane, to add a plane, and the plane is very small, so I'll scale it up, and GZ, bring it down, something around this, and this will be our base plane. For now we need to hide these assets, base elements. I'll just uncheck this. Okay, so this is what we have. I'll make it G, Shift Z to move it to the middle, and then scale it more, and then apply, scale, apply, scale. So I will Control A to apply the scale, and then I'll zoom in to this view. I will add a camera in this physical model, Shift A, and I will look for camera, enter. So we added a camera, then I'll press F3 and then camera to view, which means like it will align the camera to the current view, like this. So now I can press Shift tilde key, and I will go back with Shift S. It's like games, but this is very slow. So what we can do is that we will drag from this corner and slide to create a new panel. And in this panel here, I'll go back. So here in this panel, I have I'll be able to see the camera, but it's very small. So I'll click here in camera, and I will go to the settings, go down to viewport display, and increase it to 50 meters so that I can see it, or more, 20. So now I can see the camera. So I will move the camera closer to the object, to the model. I press J, Z, then Z again to move in the normal. And I will go back a little bit. J, Z, the first one, this is the global Z, second Z is the normal, like this. And then I can move it a little bit, G, Z, and I move it down in the global Z just to adjust the camera. And now the camera is adjusted. I can just close this panel. To close the panel, I drag from this corner to the opposite one that I want to remove, like this. And to have, this is a continuous plane. If I want to have the plane like stacked, so what I will do is I will create a second plane. Okay, I'll have this base plane here. I'll call it studio plane, and I will give it a material. I will give it studio plane, and I'll give it a dark color for now. And I will go down in the viewport, options, viewport display, and I will make it a little bit darker. That's it. And I will hide this for now. We'll go back later to it. So I'll create another plane, and this will be for the topography. I'll scale it up, J, Z, Control A to apply the scale. Then what I will do is I move it a little bit down. So I will array this one and intersect it with this, with the topography, and it will give me this staggered effect. How to do that? Shift A, array, and I will array it constant offset of, let's say, 0, distance in X, 1 meter in Z, and I will create a lot of duplicates. Now that it's creating duplicates, I'll make 50 duplicates, for instance. It's created 50. Then after arraying them, I will Shift A and Boolean intersection fast with the topography. So here this is the topography. So I click on this eyedropper and I will click on model topography. Now it intersected. So for now, I will hide this model topography so that I can see just the new stacked plane. This is the new topography. I will rename the plane to new topography. And don't forget, this one is still linked to the previous one, so we will bake it. So we will need to give this a thickness. So Shift A, solidify, and we will use solidify. We will use the same spacing in the array, which is 1 meter. Press here and 1 meter, and now we have this stacked. If you want to have more details, I don't think we need that one. Okay, after doing this, to assign like custom materials to each contour, we can just apply all of this, apply, 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 and then I'll tab to edit mode, and I will have here 2 material. I will create first material, call it wood, and I'll give it a color in the viewport, any color, and I create a new material, and I will call it wood 2, and I will get it a second color to distinguish it. So, and I will apply this material wood 2 here in tab mode. So I'll select this one, press L, then shift, select randomly another contour, press L to select the whole panel, then shift, select another one, L, and then shift, select another one, L, and then I will assign material to it. No, I'll click on the wood 2 and assign it. Now we see that wood 2 is applied to these panels. I'll tab to go back to object mode. So now what I will do also is add the tree. So the scatter tree, here we have our bark. So we will create a duplicate by Alt D, just instances. How to do that? So, and I will enable snapping face project without align and rotation to target, and then click on this one, Alt D, and I'm creating a new duplicate. It's not a problem to scale for now. We will adjust that. Alt D. This is how to quickly scatter objects. Just Alt T and it will snap it automatically. Tilde key, view camera. So now I will click on any of the scatter trees, and I'll do Shift L and select linked object data. So it will select all the trees, and then I will check individual origins, and then I will scale up with S, all of them. And then I will randomize the rotation, F3, randomize, random transform, click here, and then random rotation 180 degrees and random scale, and I will choose here. I'll select all of them and I will do 1.5, and I check even scale or even more too. It will create randomized scaling. This is a little bit big. 1.5 is good. And here we have our base model, trees and everything. Now what we will do is assign material and setting the lighting. So I'll create a new collection here, and I'll call it lights. So these are the settings for the render. It's cycles, GPU compute, and max sample just 10, and denoiser check it, and check denoiser optics or open image if you don't have RTX. And then albedo and normal for the render just 100, and the same thing, denoiser optics, and check light path, max bounces 8, and everything else 4. Also volume, just keep it 2. Transparent 5, and just put these settings. Make sure to uncheck reflective and refractive for caustics, and for the volume max steps is just 10. These are like settings to have an optimized render. Now we'll move to the render mode. Just to start, so we have no lights for now. We just have like a little bit of lights coming from the model. We need to add lights, because basically in this model there will be no world lights, but we will be doing only studio lights. So I'll go back to the random shading, and I will show the studio plane again. Shift, and I click right here to put the cursor there. So the idea is to put a light from the back to be able to see the texture bump or the texture pattern. But if we have lights only from the front, we won't be able to see the full texture profile. So we'll have 2 lights, one from the back and one from the front. So Shift A, area light, and I will scale it, and I will, this is the area light, first one, and I will, instead of rotating it, I will automatically orient it to the building. I'll go to constraint, Shift A and add a constraint, track to, and I will track it to an object of the building, and it will automatically align it to the building. So this will be our first area light, and I will give it a power of 50 kilowatts. Enter. And also make sure the max bounces is just 10, no more than that. Same thing, I will do Shift T and I will create a new one. This is the new one created, also tracked automatically because it copied the constraint here. And I will move this one, G, and move it to the front side. If I go to the render mode, I see the two lights. So I need to increase this one, the front one, 100 kilowatts, and I will move it up, JZ. So it automatically shift user camera. I need to disable the snapping, JZ, and here we have our first light, and we can adjust the beam, how sharp is the light. So we will have something in between, something around that. And to move it further away, we press J, then Z again to move it in the normal, like this. And I will increase this value to 150 kilowatts. And we have lights from the front. Then the light in the back, I'll call this one front. And the other one, I'll call it back. This one also 100 kilowatts. And also JZ to move it up, and JZZ so that I can move it forward or backward. Yeah. So if I disable the front one, you'll see this gives this dramatic look. I can reduce the spread here for the back one to have it more oriented a little bit towards the building. And then the front one gives this ambient color. So let's now start to add some textures. For the textures, for this wood part, we'll have two textures. So I make a first wood texture, I press N to hide this. And we'll just need a principal PSDF, and I will use the file provided in the folder, textures here, and there's a wood texture here. I will drag both of these, drag them here, and make sure the one that is called normal is non-color. This is an important step, and this one is color. So I'll just drag this one in the base color and the other one in a normal map node color, like this, and I'll drag it in the normal and click both of these and Control T. You need to have the node wrangler enabled. I don't need these two nodes. I just need the object plugged here and the vector plugged here. So you can't see anything here, but if I change this one to texture for the mapping, and then I can zoom the texture so that I can see it. So now I can see the texture. This is our first wood texture. It's just a base map and a normal map. And for these settings, like to have a better wood texture, I will try to adjust it also now. So for the second wood texture, I just copy the same one, Control C, go to the wood 2, and I will delete this and paste the same thing. What I will change here for the second wood is the color. I will Shift A, add a hue saturation node, put it here, and I will make the value 0.5 to make it darker. That's what I did. And I can go to the wood, the other one, and I will add a hue saturation node and make it a little bit 1.5 to make it lighter. And here we have two wood. I'll go to the wood 2 again, and I will rotate it in the Z axis to have like 2 rotations. And as you can see, this is the result that we have. To have a better looking texture from here, like we need to adjust a little bit I will disable the front lighting so that you see that the light in the back will enable us to see the texture. So let's go to Wood 2, and here we need to add a little bit of, to adjust the roughness. It will be more visible in Wood 2. This is the roughness, and I will adjust it in a dynamic way by simply adding, I will go to color and I will use separate XYZ, because the color has separate RGB, separate color, because it has red. Control Shift, I'm pressing Control Shift and I click red, green and blue, and I will use this to control the roughness. So the darker is less rough and the whiter is totally rough, no reflection. So I put the blue in the roughness and the BSDF in here, and we will see now we have better texture. We can control it with the color ramp, add the color ramp and put it between them. And now Control Shift and I click on the color ramp to preview it. So with these sliders here, the darker is the most reflective. So I have all of it not reflective, almost white, and the dark area will be very reflective. And this will change the blue channel that comes from the color. And I'll drag this into the BSDF into the surface again, and we will see the new result. And this gives more believable wood texture. We can even a little bit increase the bump to 5 to have a more bumpy, or less, 3 to have a more bumpy wood texture. And we will use the same setting here to the other one. I'll copy these two nodes, Control C, and put them in the wood as well. Control V, color to separate color, and then this one to the roughness to get a better looking wood texture. Now for the trees, I click on the trees, and here I will remove this bark and I will just put a normal white material, new white material. And for this white material, no principal BSDF, just a normal diffuse white, just a normal diffuse white. And if it's not white enough, we can just go to the value and put 1.5 to make it more white. And this is it for the trees. And for the base material, for the studio plane that we created, what I did is I created this color is created by I used the bricks texture, procedural texture. I click on the color here and I will just offset 0, make this one black, the other one black, and the mortar white. And this is to create kind of a grid, the scale 1 or scale 10, and yeah, the brick width 1, row height 1, and I'll increase this value just to get a grid, like just to get something like a grid. Let's do 300, and I will put this in base color, and this will give me kind of a grid here. And I will adjust the mortar size to 0.01 to have it just fine, 0.005. That's it, just subtle grid in the ground. Then I will add a coat to add a little bit of reflection. I'll increase the weight and I will increase a little bit the roughness. The thing here is the light from the back, Shitildaki view camera, the light from the back is distracting. So what I suggest to do is just to make this light only affect, the light shouldn't affect the ground. To do this, we go to the backlight, we click on it, and we go to this object settings, we go down to relations, no, We go down to shading, light linking, and we create a new, and then we drag the studio plane here, and we click on and we uncheck it, which means like this means that the backlight affects only the model and doesn't affect the studio plane. And we'll go to the front one now and click on light options, and we can increase the light here to have more lights affecting, or it's not about the light, this studio plane, this color less darker, and the same one for the other one. Okay, and then I can move this down. I'll click on this plane, G, Z, and move it a little bit down, and I will make it more reflective by increasing the weight 5 or 10 to make this plane more reflective, and I'll adjust the roughness a little bit, and this is the result. For the building, I'll keep it white. To make the building more interesting, I will click on the building and I will go to the building base. We have the glass, so what we do, just want a transparent glass, so we just do a simple principal BSDF, Control Shift click, and then we make it transmission, we increase it, and the alpha, so that we have no shadow, is shadow ray, and I will invert it. We saw this earlier in the PBR texture tutorial. And once we have this glass here, we need to add some lights. I will add lights here. I will add Shift, and I click here, Shift A, and I will add just a point light, and I will need a big value for this point light, and I will move it J, Shift Z, and I will move it to the interior of the building, and I will put 2 of them, Shift D, Shift Z, and I will put the second one, so we have 2 lights in the interior. So these 2 lights are here, interior lights, so I'll color them, give them a color, and I'll give them more power, 10 kilowatts or 20 kilowatts, and the bounces, just 10 is enough. I guess we need to elevate them a bit. JZ, yeah, this is out of it, and give them more power, 50 kilowatts, and the other one the same, another color, and give it 30 kilowatts, more colored, 100 kilowatts and 100 kilowatts. Yeah, and there's a small strip of light here. There's a material here of light. If I click on one of the building, yeah, like this one, it has a linear light material. This one we can, so we can edit this one a little bit, have it a color and give it more strength. And that's it, tilde key, view camera, and this is the end result. Now we'll move on to the second one.